Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's June 2nd, 2025. June 2nd, 2025. And it's been a busy day. I'll talk about that in a moment here. And these are some weeds Thea picked here. I'm going to grab, I just hooked up the grapple on the Mini-Me here, onto Optimus Maximus here. And so I'm going to add the leaves from the fig trees that were overwintered. Just going to spread out this pile a little bit here. So those weeds, we want to get nice and hot in there. So it's pretty tight quarters in here. I got heavy, all my attachments around out here, the wood pile, Elon, the excavator here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and we're going to grab some fig trees. We're not going to grab fig trees. We're going to go up and start grabbing some of the leaves that were acting as an insulation layer over the fig trees over the winter months. And last week I went ahead and used Elon and pulled out a lot of the leaves from the fig trees there. Still a lot of sticks in there in the pile. But my thought is, one of the things I want to do is start mixing the mixture here. So this will be the first mixing, taking some of the leaves, putting on the leaf mold pile from last year, so it's got all the nice fungal organisms in it to help break down the leaves. And we add compost to that as well, so it has all of the different bacteria, protozoa, the ciliates, the microarthropods, all of the different bacterial, protozoal, and fungal organisms that are necessary to create a good, healthy soil. And Thea's over here doing some more weeding because we want to get the scarlet red runner beans in the ground soon. So she's prepping that area. It's getting down into the 30s, about 20 miles from here, about 30 miles from here. Right now it's in the 40s, and we're going to have some really nice warm days and no rain for the next couple of days. And these leaves need to be started now to create some beautiful soil. So we'll start with this. And there is sand mixed in with this as well. And I don't see as well with Optimus. Shake it off so you can see some of the sand coming off there, and we'll lose some all along the way, but things will work out. We had lots of high winds yesterday, and we're going to have high winds again today, which will be very beneficial, very, very helpful with this whole process and all. And everything's just so jam-packed right now with the workshop collapse. Things are all over the place. Usually, dang it, big piles of leaves here coming in. So it's kind of tight maneuvering every place around here. So yesterday I ended up pulling more nails out of the longer boards, 8 foot and longer, 2x6s and 2x8s and all. And that worked out pretty well. So I think I got maybe all of the 2x6s and 2x8s that are longer than 8 foot long. Got all the nails and screws and staples out of those. And the parts that were trusses, I pulled off the plates that attached them and all. So when I was loading the roll-off dumpsters, I was I'm sorry, I'm focusing on how many leaves are falling off here. And each I'll go ahead and add a little more hydraulic pressure just to snug that up, because as leaves pop out, things can get loose. So so I got the all of those longer boards, and they're down here by the ship. Not all of them. The first big pallet I brought down and broke down to 2 separate pallets and pressure washed those off yesterday. So pretty soon I need to come down and see if I can make some shelving out of that. And the day before yesterday, I put together some of the shipping container shelving, metal shelving supports that hook onto the D-rings in the shipping containers. So I'm pretty excited about that. Just so we can get more stuff into those darn shipping containers, because they're all pretty much full right now. And I have to redo the plywood so that I can get the shipping containers in there, so I can't have it leaning up against the wall. So I did order pallet forks, and pallet forks that are 8 foot long, that are extensions for my other sets of forks. So I did order those, so I'm pretty excited about those. Those will come in for another week. A week from today, they're scheduled to come in. I went ahead and spent more money getting the heavier duty ones, so hopefully that'll work out. So over the last few days, there's been a lot of frumpiness on my part, stress. My granddaughters are moved into the Honey Hill house, the next road over. Geez, there's a good sized rock in there too. I see it fell out. Yep. So my granddaughters and my great grandson and one of my granddaughter's boyfriends, Corey, they're moved in, and they're scrubbing the place down, painting the place. My daughter, who will move in there eventually, came down and put 2 new toilets in yesterday, brand new toilets, which is wonderful. All of these things that they're doing. Because Thea and I really want to see the whole family together down here. I mean, that's like a dream come true. I was hoping for that when my daughters, when my daughter had her granddaughters. I really wanted them to be real close here, but it just didn't work out that way. Life is different. But now we got a renewed chance, and that way I can be around my granddaughters and my great grandson more. We're both really excited about our great grandson. You know, it seems like he's really interested in the outdoors and really enjoys the property over there. So I just want to get him exposed to as much nature as possible and spend time with him. Shake it off here some. And the day before yesterday, the well ran dry, and none of them. My daughter, who isn't living there yet, lived. You know, her childhood grew up here, with a well system, septic system, all of those things. But she was a small child, and she went to live with her mom when she was 15 years old. Was it 15? Yeah, I think she was 15 at the time. And so then fell in love, married, had kids, all of those sorts of things. And, you know, she'd still come and visit and all that, but Thea and I were in Ithaca at that time, at Cornell, waving to Thea as I go by. And and we have very busy lives, so I didn't get to see my granddaughters as often as I would have liked to. I really wanted to see them much more, but things worked out the way that they worked out. And so again, I'm super excited that they're there now. And with them really living in the country for the first time, they could hear some gurgling going on with the toilet and some spittering and spattering. And they called and spoke with Thea, and Thea went over, and they had, the pump, the water consumption had exceeded the volume of water in the pump, in the well. And so the pump lost its prime. I was concerned that the pump needed to be replaced because the well house was really hot when they went in. These are cold days. It was really hot when they went in there, and that indicated that pump had been running for quite some time without it, with just air in it. And there's cavitation process that happens, and these tiny little bubbles that get in there, and basically the pumps themselves often die. Now this is a Gould pump, a real nice Gould pump, but we went over this morning and primed it, and to my surprise, it's working now. So thank God for that. Can the grapple grab a hold of some of this? Let's see if it can do much with this. Either that or I got to get on Elon. Big holy grapple here doing this. Not the ideal way. I have one more scoop here and then I'll flatten it out a little bit. So that isn't grass growing out of this leaf mold pile. That's some of the shallots that were next to the top surface. So those were harvested last June, or was it July? And we keep them in the crisper door of a refrigerator. So I'm trying to spread this out a little bit. It's about getting as much surface area as possible for everything to get exposed to. So that's working. Okay. I'll either use the green machine or Elon to get everything set in there eventually. So we went over this morning, filled up 3 5-gallon containers. They already had water over there for everything that they needed to do. And they showered at their mom's place yesterday, or the night before, I can't remember. So we went over this morning, and thank God it took several times, but the pump started working. But the water level in the well is much lower than it was in the past when we've been over there. Now, we've been renting that out to Carol, the person that we bought the house from, the property from. And the only time she ever had the well run dry, even though she'd been there over 20 years with her husband and kids. Now she's a widow now, and in her 80s. So she decided to going to, I'm going to call it a group home, an apartment complex for seniors. and so she just moved out there recently, and we miss her a lot. She's really wonderful. Thea stays in contact with her. We'll do things with her, and she'll come out here every month to go for rides around. She loves nature and loves the ponds, and so that'll be really nice. But yeah, the only time that the well had gone dry is when her daughter, Carol's daughter, came over and was running laundry all day long. But I think it's 26 foot deep, that hand-dug well, and only 11 foot of water in it right now today. So that is concerning. So I went over the granddaughters with everything, just to be very conservative, monitoring. They hear spitters and sputters. To go out and shut that well pump off. The buttons here are the opposite on this machine to Mini-Me. Close is the opposite button and open. So I got to get used to that. So that was our morning going over. Then I brought the Hurricane over. Hurricane is a two-wheeled weed whacker with really heavy string for a string trimmer. Because they just have a push mower over there, but at least this will knock down all the big stuff, the big thick stuff. So, and I told them if they can figure someone who can figure out the electronics and get the Dixie chopper going, which is a fantastic mower, but that all the wiring got torn, the seat got damaged. Several things happened to it, so it's in rough shape. But I've totally rebuilt the deck in it before, and it's super heavy duty steel. Really, it's two. Well, I'm losing leaves all along the way here. So it is one nice big zero-turn mower. It's a commercial one. But and so Corey, the boyfriend, he's been working with electricians, and I think he wants to be an apprentice someday, and all. So, and my daughter's close friend Jack, he's very mechanically inclined. He's a contractor, but he works on the cars and trucks all the time. So maybe they can look at it. It's over here by the Hulk. I had to pick it up with the excavator to bring it down here. You don't want to pull a piece of equipment like that because the hydraulic motors can get damaged. The soil mixture from a significant proportion of leaves really breaks down into beautiful soil amendments, and then as we add compost to it, and even compost our weeds, and with the sand, ends up turning out to be one heck of a beautiful soil. try to mix things up as best as I can. Boy, it's hard when you're used to operating a piece of equipment, the buttons being in one direction, and have to get used to them being in the other direction. So hopefully Theo will be able to get the other side of the trellis, the hoop trellis, that the scarlet red runner beans will be on. All set. Then I'll take and put some, start spreading out the double ground hardwood bark mulch. And we get that on. That'll make things quite a bit better for planting all of the scarlet red runner beans. We've still got to process the beans that we've got in garbage cans from last year. We haven't done our beating of the hulls to release the beans from the hulls, and using a leaf blower. We haven't done that yet, but that's got to be done. And my watch keeps triggering. Let's see if somebody's... Nope, just responses to videos, I think. So these leaves that we get, I get 10-wheeler loads from our town. Had a relationship with the town employees for years, and when they pick up the leaves in the fall from the cemetery, which they have to do, and they used to just go and burn all of them. Let's see if I can start back here. One of the challenging things with a grapple like this, so this is a really good grapple for doing this, but one of the challenges always is there's the two hydraulic arms, but it's removing the upper clam altogether, as opposed to my rock and root grapple, which the two sides operate independently. So if there's a big hard bunch on one side and the other side is a little bit loose, well, that creates issues. So it's a nice windy day today. Hopefully that will help to dry up the ground around here a bit more. Yesterday it really dried up quite a bit. So, yeah. I'm so happy that the pump works. You know, I wrote a couple songs about country living after the last couple of days about, you know, it's being a homesteader, being a farmer, being someone who's a prepper, whatever terms you want to use, and you're out in the country, and you know, you really have to be paying attention. You have to be one with the environment that you're living in. You need to know the bird sounds. You need to know the insects that are there. You need to know the soil. You need to be very, very vigilant and very and develop a good perceptive ability, develop the skills of perception on your farm or in your homestead. Being able to detect things. It's where other people may not even notice things. So like water is so important for life. So you always want to be ready in case the water runs out. What are you going to do? You're going to shut the pump off immediately so we don't burn up the pump. You want to go ahead, and I think, like we brought over 5-gallon water totes, you always want to have totes that are completely filled. You can have some, let's call them dirty water, you know, like so some of our old 5-gallon tanks that we used to use for our reef aquariums. We brought those over, but we don't want to drink out of it. But that can be used for washing, for flushing the toilet, those sorts of things. So it's always being prepared and having a plan, having backups is so important. So water is even more important than power. You know, having a backup power source is very important as well. In 2003, we had 10 days without power here. And I had I guess it's a 4 kilowatt gas powered generator, which can keep your freezers and things like that. And our house is very energy efficient. So being passive solar and super insulated, large thermal mass, you know, and we've got a wood stove as well, so we're set with that. But you know, it's not everybody has all of those things, but you can gradually, over the years, get yourself as prepped for as possible for those those times when the resources that you depend on aren't there. It's about becoming more independent and being aware of those things. And it's, you know, people become more aware of it. You know, it's always, we live in snow country. So there'll be lots of snow shovels there this time of year and they'll be on sale. But come the first big snowstorm, all the shovels disappear. When you know that there's a potential for a power outage, all the generators disappear. And you know, it's about life experiences and learning from other people's experiences, or you see on the news, like right now in Canada, fire season started up again. You know, and they just had one very, very wet season. There was a YouTuber that we recently discovered. It's a young couple in Saskatchewan. I'm trying to remember where they are. We've only been watching them for a couple weeks, but a young couple, they bought, I think, 16 acres. Boy, this is terrible. I can't remember the details, but the first name of the person of the channel is Meg, M-E-G, and she's a little spitfire, small little gal, and her significant other, I don't know if they're married or whatever, he's very knowledgeable, and they're both ready to tackle things they've never done before. You know, they took a 1995 mobile home, they cleared the property, they drilled their own well by themselves. Legally they had to have someone else put in the septic system, but they went ahead and modified it so it would be better for their environment. And they're in a place between the hills, and they're in Canada. They have peat moss, which you go and buy around here, but they have several feet thick of peat moss. So the ground is like a sponge. You know, it's wet all the time. So they got a really high water table. But it's just, you know, they're people that are young, they're learning, and I hope that their channel becomes more popular, because we need more young people thinking about how to live during challenging times. When the power isn't there, when the water isn't there, when the sewage system isn't there, you know, what means do you have? You know, I knew people in the past that started off by just, instead of getting the 5-cent return from 2-liter soda bottles, they filled those with water and kept them under their bed. And so they got their stockpile of water first. Then they started working on food supplies as well. Lots of canned goods, dry goods, those sorts of things. And of course, if you're in the country, you have the benefit of being able to put in gardens and build your own soil over time. And there's still young people out there doing this. You know, we're going through a transition phase in the United States, well, in the whole world. China has been benefiting from many of the technological advances that we developed here, and they mimicked it. They broke our systems down and studied them, and we trained a lot of the Chinese and other countries as well. I'm just using China now as an example, but the Chinese government is heavily invested in. There's really no separate private and government entities. It's the government's involved in the private enterprise very much so, and I don't think that that's a great thing, but they're really pushing forward, and they could catch up to us with AI, artificial intelligence. The Chinese, you know, after Tesla, you know, took and developed the electric vehicle system to the point where it is today, China's been, you know, they could kick our traditional American Motors corporations. I'm talking about GM, Ford, and Dodge, Stellantis. They're way ahead of those legacy automakers. And you may have been seeing some of the robotics that have been coming out of China. You know, and South Korea is doing extremely well as well. Again, I have to get used to these different buttons for the for this grapple. But anyways, you know, it's, and one of the things I'm a little concerned about is the cyber attacks that have been increasing over the years, and that could increase even further. And so it's something to be thinking about. Okay, folks, I'm back. Thea and I just had a lovely lunch. It's like Taylor Swift's song, "Shake It Off." Oh well. I can see I've got the roots, it looks like, of one of the fig trees that I had dug out there. But everything breaks down. That doesn't break down gets separated and put back into the next pile. Eventually everything breaks down. Even me. Yeah. So while Thea and I were having lunch, I looked up in the YouTuber that we just discovered recently. Her name is Meg, M-E-G, August, like the month. And she's got a really nice YouTube channel. She's just a gung-ho, you know, ready to learn, take on any new task, and all. And her partner, he's amazing too. And Thea and I both enjoy those types of videos. Yeah, you can see that camera that I just set up front there is not going to be too much value because it's just looking straight into a mass of leaves and the grapple. So much for that idea. So anyways, yeah, there's a few, there's another YouTube channel that Thea and I watch. They publish once a week on Sundays usually, and that's Van Wives. It's two women who have a relationship, they're gay, and they've been renovating this old abandoned cabin and turned it into a nice little homestead and did their property. Now they're installing shipping containers and putting a roof on the shipping containers at this point. They have another cabin that they bought other land, up in Canada this is, and they've been renovating that as well. They've made dock systems, floating dock systems, and is floating a little floating cabin as well. And they go to Mexico during the winter months, and they're building a place in Mexico as well. Type A personalities really going for it. There's another couple. The name of their channel is Ambition Strikes. Another cute couple doing amazing things, and you know, just people who are all about gaining experiences, learning new skills, and doing their best. They share all of them share their experiences along the way. They all have very active viewers. Now I'm not I'm not, you know, sometimes I'll comment, or answer a question occasionally, but these channels are so popular that they don't need anybody like me to chime in. But channels like those we really enjoy, where people are ambitious, energetic, willing to tackle new and interesting things, and learning how to prepare for a better life for themselves and their loved ones. Yeah, we turned off television years ago, and now not that we don't have televisions, we have televisions, but we have them hooked up to computers, and we're not into the whole channel systems. Yeah. Watching regular television, I don't know, it's just, regular television just doesn't cut it anymore, especially the news. So I'll mix things up better in the future, but just trying to get as much surface contact with the leaves and the weeds and all as much as possible. Now there's, in the pile that I'm taking it from, that's pretty much quiescent right now. Not a lot of heat. There's a plethora of beneficial organisms in that soil amendment or beginning of soil. Lots and lots of microorganisms in there, but it'll really take off now that we're giving it more food, and the microorganisms will replicate like crazy, and it'll be pretty darn exciting. See if this makes it any quieter in here. I opened these up so it wouldn't get hot in here. We got a sunny day today. Oh Lord, my body's sore, but I'm feeling more content today. You know, the other place, they've got water. And I think I started this all off because I'm just trying to not overwhelm my daughter and my grandkids with knowledge of the importance of monitoring things like water usage and knowing what the well status level, what the water level is in the well, listening for if the toilet's running. They got brand new toilets in there now that were installed the night before last. So, and they're doing a fantastic job. It's really looking beautiful over there. Lori is, she's the eldest of my granddaughters, and she's very gung-ho, very energetic. I just brought over a two-wheeled, like a 21 or 22 inch weed whacker. It's a 4-cycle engine, so you don't have to mix oil with it, like some units and all. There's a rock. We're going to try to avoid that rock. Again, I got to get used to the switch in these, the buttons for my hydraulics here. I should raise it up higher, that way the other camera can see more. I've got to do a lot more mowing. There's some areas that I never got to this year so far. Down in the almond forest, I didn't get to that. Some of the wet areas I didn't get to. So, and my sprayers I have for people would use for weeding and that sort of thing. We always used neem oil and soaps and all for pests in the past. So I had like a 1-gallon sprayer, a 2-gallon sprayer. Well, they're both no longer of any value. They were damaged in the collapse. So I ended up buying a 2-gallon battery operated sprayer. So, and I bought some 50% bleach, sodium hypochlorite, and I'll add some salt to that and some Dawn dishwashing detergent to that, and see if we can use that as a weeder. There's places that to kill some weeds. And it's not going to have a residual effect after it initially kills those weeds. It isn't like using Roundup, glyphosate, which we don't want to use here, or other herbicides. So really only want things that are biodegradable, completely biodegradable, and the degradation products after the original compounds break down. We don't want those degraded products to be just as bad as or worse than the initial products. So by using things like a little bit of salt, dish detergent, and bleach, I think that'll work out pretty well. I think so. We will have to see. So now I'm going to start, since I've got I have been spreading this out some. I'm just going to go ahead now and start expanding it forward here. It is nice to have Optimus back. Once you get pieces of equipment you wonder how the heck you ever survived beforehand. Like before I had a tractor, my tractor before had a pin-on bucket, meaning that you couldn't take it off and put a grapple on or forks. Man, just moving to that point where you have a pinned-on, where you go to like skid steer quick attachments on, it just makes all the difference in the world. And getting an excavator on this property, what a game changer that was. And then getting the Hulk, the track loader, another huge game changer. So, you know, things can just, your quality of life and things in life can just improve so much by, conserving and saving, and then ultimately investing in a piece of equipment that can really reduce the amount of time and energy you spend doing some of the things you're doing all the time. And that's been my goal for many years, and that meant many years of scrimping and scraping, and living well below our means in order to be able to do what we're doing now. You know, when we're done at Cornell, Thea got her doctorate, I got my board certification, and we both had our degrees and all. We had racked up so much debt, student loan debt, mortgage debt, 2 properties, and all of the things that went with it, and then the credit card debt as well. Well, it meant having a couple of jobs, and that worked out very well, because the primary job paid the bills, and my working for other vet clinics and all, emergency work and all that made a world of difference. We're able to really tackle a tremendous amount of debt. That meant very little sleep and not much time to spend with family, which I do regret now. Man, the buttons are just opposite here. See, I didn't get as full. I'm going to see if I can grab a little of this stuff over here so I load this up a little bit more. And I hope I didn't grab that rock again. So right now I'm just, even with the grapple closed, I'm pushing everything. Got to get used to these buttons being the opposite. Well, I don't know that I did do any better that time. Probably not. Yeah, I see the rock is still there. But when you're getting loads of leaves like this, there'll be sticks and branches and rocks, flags. The short American flags from Memorial Day being put on the tombstones in the cemetery, plastic flowers. There'll be all those sorts of things, and you just, every time you turn it, you got to grab that stuff, get it out of there. But as a result of that work, the time and energy, you've got really a wonderful soil amendment. And then you take that soil amendment, you start building the beds and you're putting cover crops on, well, that's just telling the right microorganisms, here, come live in my garden bed. I have all the riches, all of the food resources, everything you need to thrive. And as a result, after that cover crop, you put your own plants in there, your own crop in there, and they are all set. I guess I'm just babbling on here. So I'm hoping some of those boards that I washed off yesterday are drying out some. It's been windy, of course, they're all stacked, so they can't really dry out very well, but it'll help to keep them from bowing and all. I'm pretty happy that much has gotten done. When I was pressure washing them, I saw there are a few nails that I missed. But that's life. I can pull them later. But 99% of the nails and screws and staples are gone. I'll have to bring down one of my battery-powered circular saws to trim boards, and I'll have to find some screws and bring down my impact driver with appropriate screw bit in it, because I think what I'm going to end up having to do is cut the boards to their optimal length depending on whichever size we have. So if it's 97 inches, I want the next board to be able to meet with it. We'll just have to see how I can make the boards work in the shelving, and I may have to double layer the boards so that there's the weight distribution can work out with the boards, you know, as opposed to a continuous layer of boards. All mine aren't going to be the perfect length to be able to do that, like all 12 footers. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I really need to get the shelving units up. I have 3 more on order, 2 that I ordered, and 1 that's a replacement for the one that I repackaged. That should be coming. I still have my welding cabinet. Whoops, there's a garter snake. No, a banded water snake. Looked like a small male, about this long. Females are a little bit more rotund, but the males will be getting out now, and they'll be several of them trying to mate with a female all at one time. It's an interesting image, just like snapping turtles. You sometimes see 3 or 4 male snappers mating with a female. I got a good sized limb in this one here, but I did it again. I pressed the wrong button. When I went to buy Elon, so newer excavators, I think all of them have the ability to switch in between 2 different modes of operation, and the one that the common term is backhoe operation. That's how Elon is set up. Well, when I went to buy it, it was switched to the other one, so that the hydraulic controls, the way I'm used to doing it, was just the opposite. And boy, that's hard to. You're very awkward. You look like a clumsy fool when it's switched to the other fluid dynamics, so that the controls, when you want to, raise the stick up, the stick is coming down, that sort of thing. So feel a little bit like that with the buttons being the opposite here. And I could just switch these are flat face couplers that I've got on this piece of equipment. Flat face couplers on Mini Me as well. Yeah, I could do that, and then I'd have them both be about the same. That's probably what I should do. I've just got to remember to do that. So, it's a real nice day out. We're in for, I think, 3 days of warmth and dry, which is a welcome change. Cold and wet, I've done enough of that this year. So I mentioned before that I'm investing in 2 new pieces of equipment, 2 lifts. And one is a scissors lift that can be used inside of a building. It's electric, but that can be used outside as well. So pretty excited about that. The other one is an articulated lift, not like a straight boom where it just where it can only go out. It can actually get closer to objects, I believe. I've only goofed around, I will say it that way, using a lift that I wasn't authorized to use before. So this will be a brand new experience for me. But that'll allow me to get into the forest, the one that's the articulated lift, and get a lot more work done. I think I'll get one more group in there. Surprisingly, it's not dropping too much. This is working pretty well. I got to figure out this oxidation on the arms of the loader here. I'll have to look up and see what it is that would help to neutralize some of the oxidation and bring back the orange color like the hood is. It was all that color when it was brand new, but sitting out in the sun, well, their paint oxidizes, Kubota. So every place I look, I see all the things I've got to do. Like, the food forest needs to be pruned so badly. All 3 food forests need that done. And I'm pretty sure I could get a lot done if I spent an entire day working in one food forest pruning. But that's 3 days. And then there's the pickup, and I got to get mowing. You can see the cover crop over here is doing extremely well. Even some of the cover crop that's on the margins of the garlic and shallots beds. And I have weeds at this end growing up there. But that's the way it is. I am really enjoying seeing all the Canada geese. All their babies and all. It's a beautiful sight, I think. I haven't seen, and I've seen the adult deer so far this season, but I haven't seen the babies yet, the fawns. Boy, it seems like they're just now we're making headway. We're getting a lot of those leaves. Some of the baby goslings are still like just a few days old hatchlings, but there's a whole bunch that are a couple months. They're not the size of adults, but they're really getting close. I've got to pull some trees out that have been growing for the last few years around Pond 4. But that's a job that it'd be much easier if I'm operating like the excavator and someone else is able to hook the chain up to each one. Just stay down there. I pull them up and set them into a pile. But Thea can't do that anymore. She's doing pretty well, but there's some things that we're just not capable of doing anymore. Now, I'll just keep plugging away because this is gradually coming together bit by bit. So I think I'm pretty much talked out at this point. I'm going to let the rest of the video go by time lapse, and we'll see how things work out. Here we go.